K-pop is getting more and more popular in the West, and as its popularity increases, more and more people are asking, can K-pop and Asian pop in general compete with Western artists? Well, that is the discussion for today's video. What's up, guys? My name's Cameron. If you're new here, I'm on a discovery to learn everything I can about Asian pop music and slowly turning into Asian culture. I started with P-pop, I'm now looking into K-pop. Shortly I'm going to also be looking into J-pop, T-pop and M-pop, though I know nothing about those, so if you are interested, stick around. Now before we jump into today's discussion, a little bit of housekeeping for those who have been subscribed for a while. Number one, I'm back at my desk, alright, so much more comfortable, but let me know if you preferred. The last few videos I've been in my living room. Ironically, it's higher quality video in my living room than it is here, but here is a little bit more comfort. So let me know if you prefer the living room, because I can always go back there and film. I have tried to make it look a little bit nicer with the lights, just so you've got something more interesting to look at. But yeah, also the eye is still, can you see that? Let me come close to you. The eye is still funky. It is on the mend, so hopefully you won't have to keep looking at that for too long. As always, I appreciate everyone who commented on the last video. You just make this whole thing worthwhile. Now, let's get onto the topic. You know, I've said this before, I don't like comparing people, even though we do it a lot. K-pop versus P-pop, BTS versus SB19, BYGO versus SB19, whatever it is. People just want to compare. I don't normally do it, but it is a question that people keep asking, especially now if I tell people that, hey, because I live in the Western world, right? I'm from the United Kingdom, and if I tell people I'm a P-pop commentary YouTuber, you know, people always want to know whether that's just something that's trendy and is going to die out, or whether it's something that's big. And I'm speaking specifically in the Western world. I'm not speaking about, is P-pop competing for Western music in the Philippines, or is K-pop competing with Western music in Korea? Obviously, that's their music anyway, and that's their culture. I'm talking specifically about the cultural impact it has on the Western world. We've seen it a lot with K-pop. K-pop is the one we're going to be focusing on because it's not just music, but it's culture. Here in the United Kingdom, the most popular skincare of the year is Korean skincare. The most popular shows on television, on Netflix, are Korean. The most popular program? Squid Game. The most popular film? K-pop Demon Hunters. Korean music is on all the radio stations. Korean music is really taking off. People need to know whether it's a trend. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Let's start with the basics. The global music industry is worth over $28 billion annually. That's just in recorded music alone. For decades, the US and the UK have dominated with pop, rock, hip-hop and now streaming. But thanks to YouTube, TikTok, Spotify and social media, borders don't matter as much anymore. Basically 10 years ago, you got all your music from what was popular, what was on the radio stations and what was on TV channels. The only way you was going to hear Asian pop music is if you went to Asia. It's very important to know, okay? We're going to come back to that, so remember that fact. Songs like Gangnam Style in 2012 shown the world that Asian pop can go viral, and that the Western world definitely had a craving for this pop music from other countries, and that language wasn't really anything that mattered to people when it came to music. It was more about whether you could dance to it and whether it was catchy as opposed to what people were saying. So Gangnam Style definitely opened the door, and it opened the door to people like BTS and then Blackpink, which then opened the door to people like P-pop groups and J-pop groups and T-pop groups, which is where we are today. But when it comes to Asian pop, K-pop is the clear leader still. BTS has filled stadiums, topped Billboard Hot 100 6 times and got Grammy nods. Blackpink have headlined Coachella. Groups like Stray Kids, New Jeans and 17, they're pulling insane numbers worldwide. Also, I have done a deep dive before on New Jeans, and I've got 2 more deep dive lined up. I've got Stray Kids and I've got 17. So if you like those or you've never heard of them, hit that subscribe button now, because they'll be dropping either this week or next week, depending on when I finish editing them, which I'm normally pretty quick at, so come back. Back to the topic at hand. K-pop's formula works. Polished production, addictive choreography, fandom culture and global marketing. It's not just Korea anymore. Members are from Thailand, Japan, Australia and the US. It's designed to be global. We've now crossed the barrier where BTS was a Korean band that did well in the West, and Psy was a Korean pop star who did well in the West. Now we're having Western groups based off what has done well in Korea, if that makes sense. Like Cat's Eye, which is basically American pop made to sound Korean. They've got more members from places like South America, Argentina and Brazil than they do actually from Korea, but they're made to sound Korean. So it's not just about where they're from anymore, it's about the sound, and the sound is Korean. The sound is Asian pop music. Now here's where things get interesting. If you ask me right now what kind of YouTuber I am, I'm not going to tell you I'm a K-pop YouTuber. I'm going to tell you I'm a P-pop YouTuber. P-pop is what switched me from talking about people like Britney Spears and, American celebrity gossip to talking about Asian pop music was P-pop groups. It was Fourth Impact, it was BINA, it was G22. These were the groups that got me into the Asian culture, not K-pop. And a lot of people are the same. Now K-pop has become global. Other Asian countries are seeing the potential. So we've got things like P-pop. With P-pop, you've got SB19. They broke barriers, earning Billboard nominations. You've also got groups like BINA, Alamat and Kea. They're carving identities rooted in Filipino language and culture. Then you've got J-pop. You've got Mandarin pop, you've got Thai pop. Once again, they're three things that I can't comment on because I don't know much about, but I'm hearing a lot more about them. So I will be commenting on them in the future. Once again, subscribe if you want to hear about that as well. Now here's the challenge. Western pop still rules the charts in Western worlds. The Grammys, the Billboard's Hot 100, Spotify Global Top 50. Most of it is still English dominated. Taylor Swift, Drake, The Weeknd, Olivia Rodrigo, Sabrina Carpenter. So even though K-pop is trending in the Western world, even though the top films on Netflix and the top programs on Netflix and the top skincare is all Korean, musically speaking, Western world is still dominating. K-pop might be at the top of the charts or might be all what people are talking about, but if you look at like the top 10, the majority is still Western music. However, more and more we're seeing Western collabs, so even Western music is branching out into Korean sounds. We've already seen major collabs, BTS with Coldplay, Blackpink with Lady Gaga, New Jeans songs produced with Western hitmakers. Coachella is Western through and through, and they've got Beanie this year. That's a P-pop group. If there's one thing we can say at this point, and I think this is a good point to say it, is that Asian groups don't need validation from Western charts. Asian groups succeed from just being who they are. Bands like Alamat barely even speak English. Most of their songs are Filipino, and yet still they've got validation from the Western world, but they don't need it. They've still got listeners in places like the United Kingdom and America, but they don't need it. So it's worth noting that even though we're talking about whether or not Asian pop can take over the Western world, it doesn't have to be considered a success. Just because something isn't popular in the West does not mean it's popular. Take a look at me. Nobody in the United Kingdom knows me. There's more people in the Philippines that know me now thanks to doing these silly little YouTube videos. I don't need Western validation, neither does Asian pop music. So that gets us up to where we are today. Let's look into the future and what the future looks like for Asian pop. Can Asian pop compete with the West? The answer is yes. Already Asian pop is competing with the West. Already, the thing about Asian pop fans are a lot of them are younger, and that's the younger generation that's going to control what the future of music looks like. And there is a whole lot more younger fans of Asian pop music in the West than there is younger fans who are liking Western music in the West, if that makes sense. I don't think I worded that correctly, but what I'm trying to say is young people like Asian pop music, and they're the ones who are going to control the charts in years to come. They're also the ones who get to pick what they want to listen to. Do you remember in the beginning of this video, I said that 10 years ago, what you wanted to listen to was what was played on the radio. What you heard is what was on television programs, it was on movies, it was on the charts. And I said, you got to remember that. Here's where we're going to swing back to that. So it's a big circle, right? Younger generation now gets to pick what they want to hear. If they want to hear music from Japan, they just Google music from Japan. They just go on Spotify, they go on Reddit forums, they go on YouTube videos. Look at any of my YouTube videos. In the comments, you've always got people recommending groups and bands and all sorts of stuff from other countries. We now live in a place where the younger generation just gets to listen to whatever they want, which means what's going to be popular is whatever they like to listen to. And what they like to listen to currently is Asian pop. So this is a big way of saying, can Asian pop dominate the West? Yes, it can. It's already showing signs of domination, and it's only going to increase. K-pop's dominating, and right behind it we've got P-pop, we've got J-pop, we've got all the other pop, which is making its way up. Yes, it can dominate. Number 2, the question that it leads to is Asian pop a trend in the UK that's going to burn out? And that is really the big question, but that doesn't make sense as a YouTube title. So let's answer that one. No, it is not. Asian pop is not just a trend. Yes, it's trendy, but it's not going to burn out. I think it's here to stay. Psy and Gangnam Style was popular in the West 10 years ago. BTS was popular in the West 5 years ago. Blackpink was popular in the West 3 years ago. Once Beanie hits Coachella, they're going to be popular in the West next year. And then we're going to have something else, and then we're going to have something else. There's always going to be Asian culture dominating the West. And it's not just music, it's TV programs, and it's filmed. When I was a kid, Asian Kung Fu films were what dominated the cinemas. You know, so it's always been around. So, no, I don't think it's a trend that's going to burn out. And there we go. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I feel like I did go on a little bit of a tangent, and I hope it makes sense to you. As a side note, I realise that I've got a lot more Filipinos who are watching my videos now due to the fact I've been commenting on Filipino music. If you've got any feedback on the way I structure videos, please let me know in the comments, because I know I get feedback sometimes about people not being able to understand me because I've got a regional accent. So if you think I speak too fast or too slow, let me know in the comments so I can start improving these videos just for you. Thanks very much.